Ew! What the hell is that smell? Oh, it's you. Get your dirty ass out of here.
I was invited.
He spat near her feet.
Invited! Animals don't get invitations.
He knocked her cup out of her hand. It splashed across her dress. His friends howled.
Oh, not gonna bark back?
Tyler grinned, drunk, vicious.
My daddy runs every cop in this town. I could piss on you right here and you'd say thank you.
Brianna looked up, calm.
Your dad's badge doesn't make you a man, Tyler.
Silence. Something ugly snapped behind his eyes. He slapped her so hard her knees buckled. Tyler thought his father was the most powerful person in this town. He had no idea who Brianna's mother was. And what she did next, nobody in Cedarville saw it coming. 3 hours before that slap, Brianna Anderson was standing in her childhood bedroom. She held up 2 dresses in front of the mirror, one black, one dark blue. Her phone was propped against the dresser, FaceTime glowing with the face of her best friend, Kayla Moore. "Go with the blue," Kayla said. "You look like a whole lawyer already." Brianna laughed. "I'm a first-year law student, Kay. I haven't won anything yet." "Girl, you got into UVA law. That is winning." Brianna smiled at that. She was 19 years old, honor roll since middle school, debate team captain in high school, the kind of student who read case files for fun on Saturday mornings. She was home in Cedarville for the weekend, a quiet visit, nothing more. Kayla had convinced her to come to this party. "You need to stop studying for one night," Kayla had said. And Brianna figured maybe she was right. Downstairs, her mother, Denise Anderson, was waiting by the front door. Even on a Saturday evening, Denise wore a pressed blazer and tailored pants. A leather laptop bag sat in the back seat of her car. She looked like a woman who never fully stopped working, because she didn't. "Call me if anything feels wrong," Denise said as Brianna climbed into the passenger seat. "Anything at all, baby. I don't care what time it is." "Mom, it's just a college party." "I know. Call me anyway." Brianna kissed her mother on the cheek. She noticed the lines around Denise's eyes, the kind that come from too many late nights reading documents under lamplight. She knew her mom worked for the government in Washington, something legal, something important. But Denise never talked about it, and Brianna had learned not to ask. That was the thing about Denise Anderson. The neighbors thought she was a government lawyer. Her daughter thought she reviewed case files. Nobody in Cedarville knew the truth. Not yet. Now, let me tell you about Cedarville. And more importantly, let me tell you about the family that owned it. Cedarville was a small suburb outside Richmond, Virginia. Population around 12,000. Tree-lined streets, white picket fences. The kind of town that looked perfect on a postcard. But underneath that postcard was something rotten. For 12 years, one man controlled everything. Police Chief Ronald Graves. His face smiled from the community newsletter. He coached Little League on weekends. He shook hands at every church fundraiser. But behind the handshakes, Graves ran Cedarville like a kingdom. He operated a protection racket on local businesses. Pay the unofficial security fee, and you were fine. Refuse? Health inspectors showed up Monday. Fire marshals on Tuesday. By Friday, your doors were closed. At least 4 Black-owned businesses had been crushed this way. He set unofficial arrest quotas, targeting Black and brown residents. Officers who hit their numbers got promotions and overtime. Officers who questioned the system got reassigned to graveyard shifts, or worse. Sergeant Harold Cole, a Black officer with 20 years of service, had filed an internal report about racial profiling. Graves responded by fabricating a disciplinary violation. Cole was forced into early retirement. 20 years of service erased like it never happened. And when families tried to complain, Graves showed up at their doors personally, full uniform, hand resting on his holstered weapon. He never made direct threats. He didn't have to. The message was clear enough. His son Tyler was the natural result of all that unchecked power. 19 years old, drove a brand new truck his daddy bought him, captain of the lacrosse team, and absolutely untouchable. Tyler had broken a black student's nose in a bar fight last year. The family tried to press charges. Graves visited them with a fabricated criminal record of the victim. They dropped everything. Tyler had harassed a Latina girl at college. The complaint vanished from the precinct files. He had crashed his truck into a black family's car while driving drunk. Officer Pruitt wrote the report, blaming the other family. Tyler never lost his license for a single day. He kept a group chat with his friends where he bragged about every escape, shared racist memes, laughed about the people he'd hurt. His favorite line, the one everyone in Cedarville had heard but nobody dared repeat, was simple. My dad runs this town. What are you going to do about it? Tonight, at Stephanie Harmon's party, he was about to find out. The party was at Stephanie Harmon's house, a big colonial place with white columns and a wraparound porch. Her parents were out of town for the weekend. 40, maybe 50 college kids filled the backyard. Music thumped from a Bluetooth speaker by the pool. Someone had strung lights between the oak trees. The air smelled like chlorine, grilled burgers, and coconut sunscreen. Brianna and Kayla arrived around 8:30. They were two of maybe 5 black faces in the entire crowd. A few friendly people waved them over. Someone handed Brianna a drink. She took a sip and felt her shoulders relax for the first time in weeks. Law school textbooks and case studies felt very far away. See, Kayla nudged her. This is what fun looks like. For about 30 minutes, Brianna believed her. Then Tyler Graves showed up. He rolled in with 4 of his boys, loud, already drunk, already looking for attention. The energy at the party shifted the second he walked through the gate. Conversations got quieter. People stepped aside. Not because they respected him, because they were afraid of him. Everyone at that party knew what Tyler Graves was, and everyone knew what happened to people who got in his way. Tyler grabbed a beer from the cooler without asking. He scanned the backyard like a king surveying his territory. His eyes landed on Brianna. She was standing near the snack table, laughing at something Kayla said. She hadn't noticed him yet. He walked straight toward her. "Who let the charity case in?" Tyler said it loud enough for the whole patio to hear. "Somebody check if the silverware's still there." The laughter around Brianna died instantly. A few of Tyler's friends snickered. Everyone else looked at the ground. One girl quietly set her drink down and took a step back. Nobody wanted to be standing too close when Tyler Graves picked a target. Brianna felt the words hit her chest like a punch, but she kept her face still. She'd learned that skill young, how to absorb cruelty without flinching. She turned away from Tyler and took a slow sip of her drink. That should have been the end of it. But Tyler didn't want silence. He wanted a reaction. He followed her. 3 steps. 4. He reached out and slapped the cup from her hand. It hit the concrete and splashed across her shoes. Dark liquid spread across the patio stones like a stain. "Oops," Tyler said. He grinned at his boys. "My bad." Kayla stepped forward immediately. "Back off, Tyler. She didn't do anything to you." Tyler turned to Kayla. His eyes moved up and down her body with open disgust. Then he spat. Not at her, but close enough. The saliva hit the ground inches from Kayla's sneakers. "Back off before I call my dad and have you both arrested for trespassing," Tyler said. "Don't think I won't. I've done it before." He had. Everyone at that party knew he had. Last semester, a black student at a downtown bar had accidentally bumped Tyler's shoulder. Tyler called his father. 20 minutes later, the kid was in handcuffs. The charges were dropped eventually, but the arrest stayed on his record. A white guy on the football team muttered from the side, "Not cool, man. Leave them alone." Tyler snapped his head toward him. "You want to be next? You know who my father is. One phone call and your scholarship's gone. Try me." The football player looked away, said nothing else. Tyler turned back to Brianna. She was wiping the spilled drink off her shoes with a napkin. Her hands were steady, but inside, her heart hammered against her ribs. She stood up straight and looked Tyler directly in the eyes. "You're not impressing anyone, Tyler." She said it quietly, almost gently, the way you'd talk to a child throwing a tantrum. And that tone, that calm, unbothered tone, was exactly the thing Tyler Graves could not handle. He had been feared his entire life, obeyed, avoided. Nobody talked to him like he was small. Nobody looked at him like he didn't matter. His face changed. The smirk disappeared. Something darker moved behind his eyes. His jaw tightened. His hand shot out and grabbed Brianna's arm, hard enough to leave a mark. She pulled away. "Don't touch me." And that's when Tyler Graves slapped Brianna Anderson across the face. Not a push, not a shove. An open-handed slap delivered with full force. The sound cracked through the night air, louder than the bass from the speaker. Brianna's head snapped to the side. She stumbled 2 steps backward. Her hand flew to her cheek. The sting was immediate, hot, electric, radiating from her cheekbone to her ear. The entire party froze. 50 people, not one sound. The music kept playing, some upbeat pop song that felt obscene against the silence. Tyler didn't look sorry. He didn't look nervous. He looked proud. He turned to his friends with both arms raised like he'd just won a championship. "That's how you handle them," he said. He high-fived the nearest buddy. "My dad taught me that." Then he laughed. A loud, easy, confident laugh. The laugh of someone who had never faced a single consequence in his entire life. Brianna stood there, hand pressed against her burning cheek. A red welt was already forming on her brown skin. Her ear was ringing. Tears gathered in her eyes, not from sadness, from shock, from rage, from the suffocating realization that a room full of people had just watched a man hit her, and nobody had moved. Kayla was the first to react. She already had her phone out. She'd started recording the moment Tyler approached Brianna. She'd captured the insults, the cup being knocked away, the spit, and now the slap. Every second of it. Her hands were shaking, but she kept the camera steady. 2 of Tyler's friends noticed. One pointed at Kayla's phone. "Hey, delete that, right now." The other one moved toward her, reaching for the phone. Kayla dodged to the left, clutching it to her chest. "Don't touch me." "Delete it, or I'll take it myself," the guy said. Kayla backed toward the house. Her eyes were wide, but her grip on that phone was iron. She slipped into the bathroom, locked the door, and uploaded the video to cloud storage. Her fingers trembled the entire time, but she did it. By the time she came back outside, the video was safe, backed up, untouchable. Meanwhile, Brianna pulled out her own phone. Her fingers were shaking so badly she had to try the passcode twice. She pressed her mother's contact and held the phone to her good ear, the one that wasn't ringing. Denise picked up on the second ring. "Mom?" Brianna's voice cracked. She swallowed hard. "Mom, Tyler Graves hit me. He slapped me. In front of everyone." The line went silent for 2 full seconds. When Denise spoke again, her voice was different. The warmth was still there, buried underneath something harder, something that sounded like steel being drawn from a sheath. "Are you safe right now?" "Yes, Kayla's with me." "Don't move. Don't leave that house. I'm coming. And baby, I'm making one call on the way." Tyler was leaning against the patio railing, watching Brianna on the phone, with a grin that could curdle milk. He raised his voice so she could hear him clearly. "Call whoever you want, sweetheart. My dad owns every cop in this county. Hell, he owns the judge. You think anyone's gonna touch me?" He spread his arms wide, gesturing at the silent party around him. "Look around. Nobody here is gonna help you. Nobody ever helps. My dad's gonna bury you and your mama both." Stephanie Harmon, the host, tugged at Tyler's sleeve. "Tyler, please, just go. This is my house and—" Tyler shrugged her off without looking at her. He sat down on a patio chair, kicked his feet up on the table, cracked open another beer. "This is my town," he said. "I leave when I want." He took a long sip, smiled at Brianna across the patio, and waited, absolutely certain that nothing and nobody could touch him. He had no idea that the woman on the other end of that phone call was about to prove him wrong in ways he couldn't even imagine. The police cruiser pulled up 11 minutes later. Red and blue lights bounced off the white columns of Stephanie's house. The engine idled. The door opened. Out stepped Officer Danny Pruitt. Pruitt was exactly the kind of cop Ronald Graves liked to keep close. Young, eager, obedient. The kind of man who followed orders without asking questions. Because asking questions meant losing overtime, losing promotions, and eventually losing the badge. Pruitt had learned that lesson early. He walked into the backyard and scanned the scene. 50 kids. A crying black girl with a swollen cheek. A white kid drinking beer on the patio like nothing happened. Pruitt saw all of it, and he walked straight to Brianna. "All right, what happened here?" Brianna started to explain. Pruitt cut her off within 10 seconds. "Hold on, what did you say to provoke him?" Brianna blinked. "Excuse me?" "Before the alleged incident, what did you say? Were you drinking tonight? You got an ID on you?" Pruitt pulled out a small notepad. His pen hovered over the page like he was already writing the story he wanted to tell. "How do I know you're even supposed to be at this party?" Kayla stepped in. "She didn't do anything. Tyler hit her. I have it on video." Pruitt looked at Kayla. His expression didn't change. "Ma'am, I didn't ask you. Step back or I'll cite you for obstruction." Across the patio, Tyler hadn't moved from his chair. He raised his beer toward Pruitt in a lazy salute. "Hey, Danny. Tell your boss I said hi." Pruitt glanced at Tyler, nodded, almost smiled, then turned back to Brianna and kept writing. He never asked Tyler a single question. Not one. 15 minutes later, a black SUV pulled into the driveway. No lights, no siren. Just the quiet authority of a man who didn't need either. Chief Ronald Graves stepped out. He wasn't in uniform tonight. Khaki pants, a polo shirt with the Cedarville PD logo embroidered on the chest. But uniform or not, the effect was immediate. Pruitt straightened up like a soldier at inspection. The remaining kids at the party shrank back toward the walls. Even the air seemed to get heavier. Graves walked past Brianna without a glance. Didn't look at her swollen cheek. Didn't acknowledge her existence. He walked straight to Tyler, put a thick hand on his son's shoulder, and squeezed. "You all right, son?" Tyler shrugged. "Some girl was running her mouth. I handled it." Graves nodded slowly, like a father proud of his boy. "Good. You shouldn't have to deal with that." He turned to Pruitt. "Danny, write it up as a mutual altercation. She was drinking, probably started it. Keep it simple." "Yes, sir." "And Danny?" Graves lowered his voice just slightly. "Make sure the report is clean. No details, no names we don't want in there. You know how I like it." Pruitt nodded. He knew exactly how Chief liked it. He'd written dozens of these reports before. Then Graves turned around. For the first time, he looked at Brianna. He walked toward her slowly, each step deliberate, each step designed to make her feel smaller. He stopped close enough that she could smell the coffee on his breath, close enough that his shadow covered her completely. "Little girl," he said. His voice was low, almost a whisper, the kind of whisper that's more terrifying than shouting. "Let me educate you about how things work in my town." Brianna didn't move. Her hand was still pressed to her cheek. "I've been running Cedarville since before you were born. Every cop in this county answers to me. The mayor answers to me. The judge plays golf with me every Sunday." He leaned closer. "People who make trouble with my family, they don't stay in Cedarville very long. Last family that tried, they moved out in the middle of the night. Couldn't find work. Couldn't get their kids into school. Couldn't even get their mail delivered right." He smiled. A cold, patient smile. "You understand what I'm saying?" Brianna said nothing. Her jaw was clenched so tight her teeth ached. Graves reached out and patted her shoulder. Slow, condescending, like he was comforting a dog. "Now go home. Tell your mama to teach you some manners. And if I hear about any video floating around from tonight..." He turned and pointed directly at Kayla. His finger was thick and steady. "Your little friend right there catches an obstruction charge. Maybe a resisting arrest, too. My jail, my rules, my town." He swept his gaze across the remaining partygoers. Every kid froze under his stare. "Party's over. Everyone go home. Delete every video, every photo. If I find anything online, anything at all, I will track you down personally. And trust me, you do not want that visit." Several kids pulled out their phones immediately. Deleted, deleted, deleted. The fear in their eyes was real. They had all heard the stories. They all knew what Chief Graves could do. Graves turned and walked back to his SUV. Tyler followed, tossing his empty beer can onto Stephanie's lawn. As he passed Brianna, Tyler leaned in and whispered, "Tell your mama I said thanks for the entertainment." Then he made an obscene gesture toward her through the car window as they drove away. Father and son, disappearing into the night, untouchable, unaccountable, just like always. Or so they thought. Because 20 minutes later, a silver sedan pulled up to the curb. The door opened with quiet precision, and Denise Anderson stepped out. She had changed since dropping Brianna off. The casual Saturday look was gone. Sharp navy blazer, pressed white blouse, low heels that clicked against the pavement with each step. She didn't rush. She didn't run. She walked like a woman who had done this 1,000 times. Walked into situations where powerful men had broken the rules and made them answer for it. She found Brianna sitting on the front porch steps. Kayla was beside her, arm around her shoulder. Denise knelt down and gently turned Brianna's face toward the porch light. The welt on her daughter's cheek was dark and swollen. Denise's eyes stayed calm, but her hand trembled, just once, before she steadied it. She pulled out her phone and took 4 photographs, different angles, clinical, precise, like evidence. Because that's exactly what they were. Pruitt was still in the driveway, leaning against his cruiser, finishing his fraudulent report. He looked up and saw Denise, smirked. "Ma'am, your daughter got into a little disagreement tonight. Chief already handled everything. My advice? Take her home. Get some ice on that." Denise stood up slowly. "I'd like a copy of the incident report you just filed." Pruitt almost laughed. "That's not how this works, lady. You can file a request at the station. Monday, during business hours. I'd also like your badge number." Now Pruitt did laugh, a short, sharp bark. "Badge number? Lady, do you even know whose department this is? This is Chief Gravestown, Chief Graves Department. File a complaint if you want. See how far it goes. I'll save you the suspense. It goes nowhere." Denise looked at Pruitt for a long moment. Her face revealed nothing. Then she nodded, slowly, once, like a doctor confirming a diagnosis. "I know exactly whose department this is," she said. "That's the problem." She took Brianna's hand, helped her into the car, closed the door gently, walked around to the driver's side, started the engine. Then Denise Anderson picked up her phone. One call, just like the title says. One single phone call. "This is Deputy Attorney General Denise Anderson. Get me Director Wallace at the FBI. I need a full civil rights task force deployed to Cedarville, Virginia by 8 a.m. Monday morning. And I need every complaint filed against the Cedarville Police Department in the last 12 years pulled and on my desk before sunrise. Every single one." In the passenger seat, Brianna stared at her mother, her eyes wide, her swollen cheek forgotten. She had always known her mom worked for the government, something legal, something in Washington. But this voice, this authority, this woman giving direct orders to the director of the FBI, this was someone Brianna had never seen before. Denise Anderson wasn't just a government lawyer. She was the Deputy Attorney General of the United States, the second most powerful person in the entire American justice system. She supervised the FBI, the DEA, the ATF, the U.S. Marshals. She had the authority to open federal investigations, convene grand juries, and authorize prosecutions against any law enforcement agency in the country. Chief Graves had just threatened her daughter, fabricated a police report, ordered the destruction of evidence, intimidated witnesses. And he did it all while smiling, because he believed no one in the world could touch him. He was about to discover how wrong he was. Denise Anderson did not sleep that night. Brianna was in bed by midnight, ice pack on her cheek, Kayla beside her, still shaking. The house was quiet, but downstairs, behind the closed door of her home office, Denise was at war. She sat at her desk, surrounded by 3 screens: her personal laptop, her secure government tablet, her phone on speaker. The soft blue glow lit her face as she worked with the cold precision of a surgeon, cutting into a tumor she'd been tracking for years. The first call had set everything in motion. Now came the execution. She ordered the FBI's Civil Rights Unit to open a full federal investigation into the Cedarville Police Department, effective immediately. Not a preliminary inquiry, not a review, a full pattern and practice investigation with subpoena authority. She had Kayla's video transferred through a secure federal evidence channel. FBI Digital Forensics received it within the hour. They placed it side by side with the incident report Pruitt had filed that night. The comparison was devastating. Pruitt's report described a mutual altercation between 2 intoxicated parties. The video showed a sober 19-year-old girl being slapped across the face by an aggressor, while 50 witnesses stood frozen. Every single word in that report was a lie, and now the federal government had proof. But Denise didn't stop there. She pulled the entire complaint history for the Cedarville Police Department, 12 years of records. What she found was worse than she expected, and she had expected a lot. 43 formal complaints from Black and brown residents, excessive force, racial profiling, unlawful searches, intimidation of witnesses, fabrication of evidence, destruction of body camera footage. Every single complaint had been dismissed, buried, or quietly closed without investigation. And every single one traced back to one signature at the bottom of the dismissal form: Chief Ronald Graves. She found the case of Sergeant Harold Cole. 20 years of honorable service. Filed an internal report about racial profiling quotas. Graves responded with a fabricated disciplinary charge. Cole was stripped of his rank and forced into early retirement. His pension was reduced. His reputation was destroyed. All because he told the truth. Denise called Cole personally. It was 2 a.m. The old sergeant answered on the 4th ring, his voice heavy with sleep. Sergeant Cole, this is Deputy Attorney General Denise Anderson. I'm calling because 12 years ago, you did the right thing. And 12 years ago, Ronald Graves punished you for it. She paused. I'd like to give you the chance to finish what you started, as a federal witness. The line was silent for a long moment. Then Harold Cole said 2 words that carried 20 years of suppressed anger. I'm ready. By 4 a.m., Denise had secured a federal warrant to seize Tyler Graves' phone and all associated cloud accounts. The group chat, the one where Tyler bragged about every crime he'd escaped, was about to become Exhibit A. By 5 a.m., she had a team of 12 FBI agents en route to Cedarville from the Richmond field office. Led by Special Agent Colleen Walsh, a 15-year veteran who specialized in law enforcement corruption cases. By 6 a.m., every piece was in position. The warrants were signed, the evidence was cataloged, the witnesses were contacted. The task force was briefed. Denise closed her laptop, poured herself a cup of coffee, and waited for Monday morning. Ronald Graves woke up at 6:30, same as every day. He showered, put on his freshly pressed uniform, pinned the badge to his chest, the badge he had once called his crown. He drove to the Cedarville police station in his black SUV, stopping at his usual cafe for a large coffee and a glazed donut. He walked through the front door at 7:55. The desk sergeant greeted him. "Morning, Chief." Graves nodded without looking. Same as every day. He pushed open the door to his office. His coffee was in his left hand. His donut was in his right. He was thinking about the golf game he had scheduled with Judge Patterson that Sunday. Then he looked up. 4 people were already inside his office. 3 men and 1 woman. All standing. All wearing dark suits. The woman in front held a leather credentials case open in her left hand. The gold FBI badge caught the overhead light. "Chief Ronald Graves." Special Agent Colleen Walsh's voice was level, almost polite. "Please sit down." Graves didn't sit. His face twisted into something between confusion and rage. "This is my office, my station. Who the hell authorized you to—" "Sir, sit down." Walsh didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. "We are here on direct orders from the Deputy Attorney General of the United States. You are the subject of a federal civil rights investigation. Your son, Tyler Graves, is the subject of a separate criminal investigation." Walsh placed a folder on the desk, opened it. The incident report filed by Officer Daniel Pruitt on Saturday night has been reviewed against video evidence obtained by federal investigators. The report is fraudulent. We have the original. We have the video. And we have witnesses. Graves' coffee cup trembled in his hand. A drop of brown liquid fell onto his pressed uniform shirt. He didn't notice. Walsh extended her hand, palm up, steady. "Your badge and service weapon, Chief, now." The room was silent. Graves looked at the badge on his chest, the badge he'd worn for 12 years, the badge he'd used to threaten families, to silence victims, to protect his son, to build his empire. His fingers fumbled with the pin. It took him 3 tries to unclasp it. He placed it on the desk with a soft click. 12 years of unchecked power, ended by one phone call from the woman he never bothered to learn the name of. The news moved through the Cedarville police station like an earthquake. Officers in the bullpen watched through the glass walls of Chief Graves' office as Walsh collected his weapon. A federal agent placed it in an evidence bag. The holster that had sat on Graves' hip for 12 years, the holster he used to rest his hand on when he visited families to intimidate them into silence, was empty. Graves was escorted to a conference room, not in handcuffs, not yet, but flanked by 2 agents who walked close enough to make the message clear. He was not in charge anymore. He was not in charge of anything. His first instinct was to call for help. He reached for his phone and dialed the mayor. No answer. He tried the city councilman, who owed him 3 favors. Voicemail. He called Judge Patterson, the man he played golf with every Sunday. The call rang 6 times and went dead. Word had already spread. The FBI was in Cedarville. Federal task force. Direct orders from the Deputy Attorney General. Every person who had ever stood in Graves' shadow was now running from it. The ship was sinking, and the rats were swimming for shore. Officer Danny Pruitt was pulled from his cruiser at 9:15 that morning. He was halfway through a breakfast sandwich when Walsh knocked on his window. She didn't smile. She didn't explain. She simply said, "Officer Pruitt, you're suspended without pay, effective immediately. Your badge, weapon, and vehicle. Now." Pruitt's face went white. The breakfast sandwich sat untouched on the dashboard for the rest of the day. The fraudulent incident report he had written Saturday night was already logged as federal evidence. Every word of it, the mutual altercation, the fictional drinking, the missing details, was now proof of obstruction of justice. The report Pruitt thought would disappear into a filing cabinet was going to be read aloud in a federal courtroom. Tyler Graves was next. At 10:30 a.m., a detective from the Richmond field office and a uniformed officer arrived at Tyler's apartment. He answered the door in sweatpants, hair uncombed, energy drink in hand. He looked like a man who had slept perfectly well. Because he had. He had slapped a girl, bragged about it, and gone to bed without a single worry. That ended now. "Tyler Graves, you're under arrest for assault and battery with hate crime enhancement under Virginia Code and federal civil rights statutes." Tyler blinked, then laughed. "You're joking. Call my dad. He'll sort this out in 5 minutes." The detective didn't flinch. "Your father is currently the subject of a federal investigation. He's unable to help you." For the first time in Tyler Graves' life, those 5 words, "My dad will fix it," meant nothing. The color drained from his face. His energy drink slipped from his hand and hit the floor. Red liquid spread across the tiles like a stain. They cuffed him in the doorway. 19 years old, charged as an adult. And for the first time ever, there was no phone call that could save him. But the arrest was only the beginning. The federal warrant for Tyler's phone had been executed at dawn. FBI digital forensics cracked the group chat within hours. What they found inside was a catalog of cruelty. Screenshots of Tyler bragging about breaking the black student's nose. Messages joking about the Latina girl he'd harassed. Photos of the car accident he'd caused while drunk, with laughing emojis. Racist memes shared dozens of times. And the sentence that appeared over and over in chat after chat like a motto: "My dad runs this town. What are they gonna do?" Each message was a confession. Each meme was evidence of motive. Each boast was another charge. Tyler wasn't facing one count anymore. He was facing a wall of his own words, and every single one of them was about to bury him. By noon on Monday, the story broke. Kayla's video hit the internet first. Denise had coordinated the timing with legal precision. Released after the arrests, after the warrants were served, after the evidence was secured. Nothing could be suppressed now. The video showed everything. Tyler's sneer, the slap, the high five, the laughter. And then audio from Graves' own body camera, the one he thought was turned off. His whispered threat to Brianna played clearly.
"People who make trouble with my family don't stay in Cedarville very long."
Within 3 hours, the video had 4 million views. By evening, it had 12 million. The hashtag rose like a wave across every platform. Hashtag Justice for Brianna. And Cedarville would never be the same. The video was the match, but the investigation was the fire. Within 48 hours of the FBI's arrival in Cedarville, the entire foundation of Ronald Graves' empire began to crack. And once it started cracking, it didn't stop. Agent Walsh and her team set up a temporary command center in the Cedarville Community Center. deliberately chosen because it was 3 blocks from the police station. Every officer driving to work had to pass the building, with federal vehicles parked outside. The message was unmistakable. The old rules no longer applied. The first wave of evidence came from the department's own servers. Graves had ordered body camera footage deleted on at least 14 separate occasions over the past 6 years. He believed it was gone forever. He was wrong. FBI digital forensics recovered the files from backup servers that Graves didn't even know existed. 14 incidents, 14 cover-ups, 14 victims who had been silenced, until now. The second wave came from the people of Cedarville themselves. Once the video went viral, once the hashtag started trending, once people saw that Ronald Graves was no longer untouchable, the dam broke. Families who had been afraid for years picked up their phones. A black business owner described how Graves' security fee had bankrupted his restaurant. A single mother told investigators how Pruitt had arrested her teenage son on fabricated charges after she refused to drop a complaint. An elderly couple, married 46 years, described Graves showing up at their front door in full uniform, hand on his weapon, telling them to forget what they saw. One by one, the silent victims of Cedarville found their voices. 23 new witness statements were taken in the first week alone. And then there was Harold Cole. Sergeant Cole sat before the federal grand jury on a Wednesday morning. He wore a pressed suit. His shoes were polished. His hands were steady. For 20 years, he had carried the weight of what Graves had done to him. The fabricated disciplinary charge, the stolen rank, the forced retirement, the pension he'd earned with 2 decades of service, cut nearly in half by a man who punished honesty like a crime. Cole spoke for 3 hours. He described the quota system, the pressure to target black neighborhoods, the officers who were rewarded for compliance and destroyed for dissent. He named names. He provided dates. He presented documents he had kept hidden in a fireproof safe in his basement for 12 years, waiting for the day someone would finally listen. When he finished, the lead prosecutor asked him one final question. "Sergeant Cole, why did you keep these documents for so long?" Cole looked at the jury. His voice didn't waver. "Because I knew the truth doesn't expire. I just had to wait for someone brave enough to use it." The grand jury returned indictments within 2 weeks. Tyler Graves stood trial first. He faced the courtroom in an orange jumpsuit, a long way from the lacrosse jersey and brand new truck. The charges were read aloud: assault and battery with hate crime enhancement for the attack on Brianna, additional counts for the assault on the black student whose nose he'd broken, a harassment charge connected to the Latina student, a hit-and-run charge from the drunk driving incident. Each count pulled directly from his own group chat messages, his own words, his own boasts, his own confessions, typed with laughing emojis. His defense attorney argued that Tyler was young, influenced by his father, a product of his environment. The prosecutor responded by playing the video, the slap, the high five, the grin, and then Tyler's voice, loud and clear. "That's how you handle them. My dad taught me that." The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Tyler Graves was sentenced to prison, followed by extended probation, mandatory counseling, community service in communities of color, a restraining order protecting Brianna, Kayla, and every other victim. He sat motionless as the judge read the sentence. No smirk, no bravado, no daddy to call. Just a 19-year-old boy realizing for the first time that actions have consequences, and that his father's badge couldn't stop them. Chief Ronald Graves' trial was the main event. Federal prosecutors presented a case that spanned 12 years of systemic abuse: the protection racket, the quota system, the buried complaints, the destroyed body camera footage, the fabricated charges against Sergeant Cole, the intimidation of victims and witnesses. And at the center of it all, the night at the party, The night Graves threatened a 19-year-old girl, ordered a false report, demanded the destruction of video evidence, and walked away believing he was untouchable. The prosecution's final exhibit was the body camera footage from that night. The camera Graves thought he had turned off. His own voice filled the courtroom, low, menacing, unmistakable. People who make trouble with my family don't stay in Cedarville very long. The courtroom was silent. Graves sat at the defense table with his jaw clenched. The man who had once said, "I am the law," had nothing left to say. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Guilty. Every single count. Civil rights violations, obstruction of justice, witness intimidation, racketeering, abuse of authority. The judge's sentence was precise and devastating. Federal prison, long term. Law enforcement certification permanently revoked. Pension forfeited. Never again would Ronald Graves wear a badge. Never again would he carry a weapon with the authority of the state behind it. Never again would he knock on a family's door and make them afraid. Officer Danny Pruitt pleaded guilty before his case reached trial, filing a false police report, obstruction of justice. He was sentenced to prison, terminated from the department, and permanently barred from law enforcement anywhere in the United States. The city of Cedarville entered a federal consent decree, mandatory reforms, independent oversight, bias training for every officer, a civilian review board with real authority, and a new police chief appointed from outside the department, a black woman with 20 years of experience in community policing. Her first official act was to reopen every single complaint that Ronald Graves had buried during his 12-year reign. And Sergeant Harold Cole, he received a formal letter of apology from the city. Full restoration of rank, full restoration of pension. He was invited to serve on the Civilian Oversight Board, the board that would make sure no one ever did what Graves did again. He accepted. So where are they now? Let me tell you. Brianna Anderson went back to UVA Law. She didn't take a semester off. She didn't hide. She walked into her Monday morning constitutional law class with a fading bruise on her cheek and sat in the front row. Her professor asked if she needed accommodations. Brianna shook her head. "I need to be here," she said. "This is exactly why I chose law." She graduated near the top of her class. Before she even had her diploma in hand, she founded an organization called Speak Anyway, a nonprofit that trains young people of color to document police misconduct, know their legal rights, and report abuse of authority without fear. The name came from something her mother told her in the car that Saturday night. "They'll tell you to be quiet. Speak anyway." Brianna was invited to testify before Congress during a hearing on police reform. She sat at the long wooden table, microphone in front of her, cameras everywhere. She didn't read from notes. She spoke from memory, from experience, from the scar that no longer showed on her cheek, but still lived somewhere deeper. Kayla Moore changed her major the week after the trial ended. She enrolled in the journalism school at Virginia Commonwealth University, investigative reporting. The video she recorded on her phone at a backyard party became a case study taught in media ethics courses across the country. Professors used it to teach a simple lesson. One person with a phone and the courage to press record can change everything. Kayla went on to intern at a national news outlet. Her first published piece was about police accountability in small towns. The opening line read, "I almost deleted the video. I'm glad I didn't." Denise Anderson continued serving as Deputy Attorney General of the United States. The Cedarville case became one of the landmark civil rights investigations of her tenure. But she never spoke about it publicly. When reporters asked, she gave the same answer every time. "The case speaks for itself. My daughter speaks for herself." At home, Denise was still just mom. Pancakes on Sunday morning, checking in about exams, texting Brianna articles about civil rights cases with a single comment. Thoughts? She had spent her career dismantling systems of corruption from the inside. But the case that mattered most to her started with a phone call from her daughter, and the sound of a girl trying not to cry. Tyler Graves served his full sentence. When he was released, a local reporter tracked him down for an interview. Tyler sat in a bare apartment. No truck, no lacrosse jersey, no group chat full of friends celebrating his invincibility. He looked at the camera and said he was sorry. He cried. He said prison had changed him. Maybe it had. Maybe it hadn't. The internet didn't care. The video of him slapping Brianna, the high five, the grin, the words, "My dad taught me that," would follow him for the rest of his life. Every job application, every Google search of his name, every first date. The internet never forgets. And some things shouldn't be forgotten. Ronald Graves sat in a federal prison cell. The man who once called himself the Law of Cedarville now lived in a 6x8 room with a metal toilet and a window too small to see the sky through. His portrait was removed from the wall of chiefs at the Cedarville police station. The nail hole was patched over and painted. No plaque, no mention, just a blank wall where a tyrant's face used to hang. The town he once claimed as his kingdom didn't speak his name anymore. He became a cautionary tale, a story parents told their children about what happens when power has no accountability. Harold Cole attended every meeting of the Civilian Oversight Board. He sat in the front row, back straight, badge restored, dignity intact. 20 years late, but finally, fully honored. Now, let me ask you something. What would you have done at that party? If you saw a man slap a woman in front of 50 people, would you have recorded it? Would you have stepped in? Or would you have deleted the video when a police chief told you to? Drop your answer in the comments. I want to hear it. If this story hit you in the gut, smash that like button. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe and hit the bell, because every week we tell stories where justice doesn't just win, it shows up with a warrant. Chief Graves said he was the law. Turned out the law had a different opinion, and it only took one phone call to prove it.
One phone call, that's all it took. 12 years of corruption, 43 buried complaints. One phone call from the woman Ronald Graves never bothered to look up, and his entire empire came down. Graves spent 12 years convincing a whole town that his badge made him God. He crushed businesses, he destroyed careers, he watched his son slap a 19-year-old girl across the face and called it handling it. But Brianna didn't disappear, Kayla didn't delete that video. Even with a police chief pointed at her, threatening her freedom, and Sergeant Harold Cole, he kept those documents locked in a fireproof safe for 12 years. 12 years waiting for someone brave enough to use them. That's what stays with me. The truth doesn't expire, it just waits for the right moment. Now, let's be real with me. If you were at that party, 50 people standing around, and a police chief looked at you dead in the eye and said, delete the video, would you keep it? Or would you press record in the first place? Or would you stare at the floor like everybody else? 50 people were there that night. One person pressed record, one person refused to let it vanish. Now tell me, what would you have done? Drop it in the comments. If the story moved you, share it with someone who needs it. Subscribe, hit the bell. Every week, we bring you stories where justice shows up with the warrant. Graves said he was the law, but the law disagreed.